Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to introduce you to Kairon, which is basically a digital assistant builder platform, uh, which uses LLM to revolutionize the way you interact with your clients. And in today's presentation, we dive into the Kairon and how it utilizes LLM to streamline chatbot flow and as well as client configuration, which ultimately enhances the efficiency and effectiveness of your customer experience. So before starting, let me tell you a bit about Kairon. As a business who has digital presence, they actually need innovative solutions to enhance customer experience and streamline their operations. So basically, Kairon comes into the picture as it empowers you to build intelligent digital assistants without the hassle of complex infrastructure and expertise in coding. So, as for the Chi- the Chiron basically simplifies your development process, allowing you to build, deploy, manage, and monitor your digital assistants with ease. This also eliminates the need of separate infrastructure setup, saving you valuable time and resources. With the Another point is proactive monitoring and support. Basically, Caron doesn't stop at creation. It also ensures the smooth operation of your digital assistants with its built-in telemetry module. Uh, if any issue arises, Chiron proactively intervenes, preventing any disruptions and maintaining optimal performance. And Chiron is not just only a development tool; it is a comprehensive end-to-end solution. Uh, It also provides everything you need to create, deploy, manage, and also monitor your digital assistants. So, why should we? Why Chiron? So, the first point is empowering diverse teams. Basically, Chiron empowers you to build digital assistants that cater a wide range of needs, be it marketing, where you can marketing and engage interactions that answers customer queries, support online purchases, or personalize the customer journey. As for operations, they can leverage Chiron assistance to improve customer service, response time, and satisfaction. Uh, product managers can also product managers in SaaS companies can build assistants, for example, for onboarding, customer support, and gathering valuable feedback information. Uh, Additionally, these transformation teams can also utilize Chiron to automate their internal processes, which can cut costs and improve efficiency. So, before diving into the product, let me tell you about something, a bit information about LLMs. So, what are LLMs? Understanding the basic idea behind it and how it powers our product. So, the magic behind our digital assistance lies in these technology known as LLMs. Basically, full form is large language models. These are advanced AI systems that are trained on large, massive amounts of data, which allows them to understand and generate human language with remarkable proficiency. And as for understanding human language, they act as the uh, because they are so they allow Caron to understand and generate language. It helps Chiron uh, in improving the performance of the user experience. As for the foundation for Kairon capabilities, LLM can act as a brain for Kairon assistants, enabling them to interpret user queries, which user usually asks to the chatbot. Based on that, formulate accurate responses and continuously learn and improve over time. This underlying technology is basically the foundation of Chiron's ability to create natural and engaging interactions with the user. And as for driving innovation, the field of LLM is constantly evolving, unlocking even new possibilities for AI digital assistants. So Chiron stays at the forefront of this innovation, ensuring the assistants are equipped with the latest advancements in language processing. Uh, so this is basically the difference between normal digital assistant and an LLM assistant. So whether you're building a chatbot, you should need the basic differences between the two. So if we compare LLM assistants with normal digital assistants, these chatbots, LLM chatbots, basically excel at understanding human language with greater nuance and adaptability. Whereas in normal digital assistants, these basically work on a predefined set of flow, and they usually follow that. So there is less scope for complex handling of language. As regards to development and flexibility, LLMs are generally more easy to digital assistants on Caron are more easy to develop, as you just have to add bot content in the platform, which the LLM will use to generate context, prompts and responses to the user. The third point being explainability and cost. So, generally speaking, LLM assistants are basically higher at cost compared to normal digital assistants. So, depending the choice usually depends on the specific needs of your user. So, the today's agenda, what the topics which we would be covering is, so the first one would be how we create a bot, setting up your digital assistant. Second step is creating an LLM flow for the digital assistant, where we add content for the LLM and basically use that in our flows to create one story. The third would be then personalizing our chat line based on the website we would create it on. And lastly, we would test the newly developed chat flow. So before moving into the platform, I'd just like to tell you about the features which we have used for creating the LLM chat, basic LLM flow. So first is the prompt management page. It's a feature of Kairon where you create, edit, and you organize prompts, organize contents in tables, which are usually predefined content, which would be used by LLM chatbots to interact with users. This is how the page would look like. For going forward, when we give the demo on this, we'll just show you how this works. The second feature which we have used is story builder. So basically, what are stories? They are part of a flow in which you have an intent, and based on that intent, there is an utterance where you give the response to the, where in that utterance it is basically a part where the response is written. Uh, so if a user asks a question, the chatbot would respond accordingly. So this is the story is basically the representation of conversation between the user and the AI system. This is how our story builder looks like. So on the left hand side, you have components, and based using these components, you can create flows in your store. So I'll just explain in one line what this does. So intents are basically your uh, questions asked by a user. So uh, suppose uh, I have a question in hi, how are you? So and hello there. These all questions you will categorize them under one intent known as greet. So and based on that intent, your bot can respond accordingly. So, which comes to the second point, which is utterances. Here, in utterances, what you actually want the bot to respond based on the intent is what you put over. As for actions, Kairon provides uh, large amount of. Kairon provides a number of actions, such as API. Suppose you have a if you have an API you want to integrate with Kairon, you can use a API action or the prompt action which you are going to use now, where you customize your LLM with it. So the responses from, coming from the chat client is through LLM. And as for forms, you can trigger forms from intent. So, for example, these forms would be basically question answer based, where the chatbot would ask questions and store the responses in some slot. Uh, Another, this is the actually the main feature which we're using, prompt action form. So in this, basically you customize your LLM, where in the action you provide the external data from which the chatbot would craft its responses, and you do prompt engineering on that data, so you can get the responses as per your need. This is how the prompt action form looks like. Uh, so on the first is you provide a name for that action, and here you add context to the prompts. So for example, system context is the basic context which you will find in every prompt action form. Basically, this specifies the persona of the chatbot which you will create. So for example, you are a friendly digital assistant, something like that. As for prompt instructions, these are basically instructions to modify the response provided by the LLM. So suppose you want to have a response in a particular format, you can provide instructions for that. And this failure message, suppose if the LLM does not get any response from the chatbot, sorry, from the content we have provided. So instead of that, you can just provide a failure message, and this would be returned as a response to any queries given by the user. I'll just when we create a demo, I'll just tell you everything about this in detail. And lastly, how we configure the client. So this is basically the UI UX part of the your chat room, how it looks and how we can improve it. So this is the configure client page is divided into multiple sections. The first one is essentials, where you provide the name of your chat client or the welcome message. What would be the first message shown to your user when you open your chatbot, and what type of customer support bot is there. And you can select a user type, so if it is custom or random. Uh, in themes, you can provide the color or the size and width of your chat line. Um, Similarly, in assets, you can provide images or GIFs or SVG for your in bot icon, or when you open the chat client, the header, how you the it should look like. I'll just explain everything when we dive into the demo. So I'll just log in my account. So this is our login page. So you provide your email and password. Suppose if you're a new user, you can sign up for free. Else you can use our Google sign in, Google login. That also works. And if you have any queries or doubts, you can join our Discord channel. So if you see over here on the right hand side, just click on this Discord and you can join our group, and you can ask questions over there also. So I'll just log in my account. Yeah, so this is our main chatbots page. In this, you'll see all the chatbots you have already created. So in order to create a new chatbot, you click on the plus icon over here. You give the name for your chatbot. For example, sample chat. If I write, and if I save this one, this will create the bot. You can also rename the bot again if you want. My bad. Just 1 second. Sample chat. Just the shift and enter, then this will save the new. You can delete the bot from here. So this section is basically how your own bots. So bots created by you come under this, and suppose if someone else on this platform has shared a bot with you, it would come under as shared. You can also change the view as to how this should look. So a table view is also there, and you can also search for your bot if you have multiple bots and not unable to find it. So for example, the bot which I had created, if I write sample chat, it will comes over. Okay, so we'll just go into this. This is your conversations page. So all the stories related to the chatbot comes over here. So by default, you get three stories. Two of them are Q&A. I'll explain what are the types of stories also. So for example, if I go over here, this opens a Q&A. So basically Q&A is a question answer type format where the user asks a question and there is an instant response from the assistant. So so basically, hello, how if the user asks us, the chat client any questions like this, the bot would respond with these two responses. And similarly for buy, uh, this if the user asks the chat client goodbye or see you later, the bot would respond with these three responses, any one of them. And finally, the last row you get is NLE fallback. So what this means is if the model in this digital assistant does not classify the question asked by the user in any of the intents, it goes into fallback, and this response is provided to the user. I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that. As for the different types of stories, if you want to create a new story, you just click on this plus button, and so these are the four stories currently supported on Kairon. So first is the Q&A, which I already explained. Where this is a single user interaction with one intent and one utterance, where the user asks a question and there is one response provided to the user. Rule based are a bit different. where you can, it is basically a short conversation, and it always follows the same path. Uh, custom stories are important because we will be using this, where you can add multiple bot interactions with the multiple utterances or actions for that matter in the story beneath the intent flow. As for multi-flow, suppose you have a complex story flow, and the story flow needs branches based on conditions. So use multi-flow for that. But for our demo purpose, we'll only use custom. Um, this was the stories page. So I've already created one with LLM enabled in this. So what we need to do is go to the prompt management page. Here you manage. Here we basically, there are two pages for this. One is the Rasa Q&A, where we show our Q&A stories in tabular format, which is easy to edit and update. So this is one page. Another is this Chat GPT, where you maintain all your content based with subsections, because these are basically tables, default and hooks. So initially you won't get this enabled on your basic default bot. You have to contact us or just reach out to us on Discord. Another way is, if suppose if you're new to the platform and you have created one onboarding bot, there also it is enabled. So you can try this thing over there also. So I've already created one table, books, with my content over it. I'll just show you how to create a new table. So when you click on over here, add FAQ table, this basically creates a new table where you give the name for the table. So for example, if I type Goodreads, and the table, what is your table type? So there are basically two types of table. One is content and another is payload. So for when the table type is content, there is only one column where you store your data in rows format. On, so every row which has some data would come under the content column. As for payload, you specify the columns. You have to add columns in this. So in this type of table, you can have multiple columns under which you can add data under each column. This is actually not required for our demo. We actually need the basic content. So I'll just go and click that and press save. So here you have created. So in order to add content to the data, you just click on the plus icon over here, and this lets you create a content from it. And suppose if you want to delete the table, just press on the delete icon and click on proceed. This would delete the table from our database. So the website which we picked for demo today was Goodreads.com. This is basically a book website, uh, which tells you about. I mean, the books are divided in sections based on category, and if suppose if I go in Christian, I'll get books based on that. So how we have prepared our data is, we have taken 5 books from 3 sections, which is horror, non-fiction, and fiction. So I'll just show you how you can add content in this. So this Goodreads table which we have created. Suppose if I want to add information about this book, so what I did was, you take the book name, then the author, uh, then write about the amount. Uh, so this, then which genre it belongs to, and rating. Just 4.53 out of 5. 53 out of 5. I'll also provide one link. Yeah. So whatever content you have, if you want to create one LLM bot, so you add a content over here like this and just press save. This would add content over here. You can also delete and update the content also. So for our demo, I have actually already created one books table, which has 16 records. Each each record containing the information about books, what is his author, and about the book, rating, and links in some of them. Links for the good read link for the book in some of them. Uh, so so firstly you have created a content for this. Next step is to create a flow in which you would add a prompt action which would take content from this table, which is books. So what I'll do is I'll create another story as an example. I'll take custom as my story. Example flow. I'll just name this. Uh, so I'll add one another intent sample intent sample read, for example. So what you have to do is provide training phrases so the model understands the questions asked by the user comes under this intent sample read. So if I write suggest me some books and press enter, you have added a training example. So when you train the model, basically tells the model to these types of questions come under this intent. So one example usually doesn't do it, so you have to add multiple examples. So if you're feeling lazy, what you can do is you can use a generate training phrases feature. When you click on this, uh, this would use GPT to augment your questions, basically create multiple types of same questions like this. So you can select whichever training phrase you want to add on this. So if I select all, for example, and proceed, it directly adds all the training examples in this. Suppose if you want better training training phrases in this, so what you can use is this use GPT, which basically uses GPT-3 to augment your training examples. But for this, you need to add the key on the settings page. So in order to add key, I'll just leave this story builder flow. Over here in settings section, you have to add your GPT-3 key over here in order to unlock that augmenting thing with GPT. I'll just come back over here. Story flow. So this is the starting point of your story. So the intents always come at top, which would be followed by utterances or actions. So if you add an action utterance, sorry, for example, if I give uttered by, so So if a user asks tells me some book to read, the bot would respond as "See you later, I'm here," which is not right actually. Uh, so what we actually want is using pro- prompt action to which would use our LLM to generate responses based on the questions provided by the user. So I'll just give an overview. So there are multiple actions in our Kairon platform. One is this API action where suppose if you have an API which you want to integrate with Kairon, you can use this API action. Uh, if you for email, if suppose you want to send somebody email based on your bot responses, you can use this. These all are basically integrations for different third-party applications. As for research slots, there's a concept in our platform known as slots, which are basically memory for chatbots. So you can store some data which you can use in a later flow. These are known as slots. So if you want to reset those slots at any point of time in the flow, you can use these actions. What we're actually interested in is prompt action, which basically creates a customizable LM which takes data from our which we had created on the prompt management page and use over here. I'll just show you. Huh. So this is the prompt action. Here you provide the name. So for example, if I say book underscore prompt, and in this system context, so in this basically you provide the persona of the chatbot. So, for example, which you have already given, you are a helpful creative. So, if you can specify you are digital, helpful digital assistant, uh, helpful, cheerful digital assistant. Uh, you can also, I mean, expand on this and create some important. Actually, I have already created. I should just show you that. As for instructions, so whatever the response comes from the LLM, you can actually give instructions as to how your response should look like. Suppose if you want it in bullet points, you have to specify over here. Please provide concise bullet points for better clarity. So, as for failure message, this is the default failure message. I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that. But you can also specify your own failure message if you like to. Similar for this, come to advanced options. So there are three uh, main part to this. One is this dispatch response. What this does is, suppose by default this is enabled. So whenever a LLM gives the response to the user query, if this is enabled, the chatbot will directly show the response to the user. Suppose if this is not enabled, the response would not be shown to the user. This is basically useful when you're trying to chain LLMs. So based on this prompt actions response, you provide data to another prompt action or some another action, and you use the data over there to and then send the response basically to the user. Another section is the set user question. So this section is for whether you want to set I mean the questions asked should be from the query which the user provided, or you want to set the question from slot. So suppose you have a already have a question stored in one slot from another flow, and You can use that slot over here, and from that it would take the question and based on that give the response to the user. Slots configuration in this, what actually happens is, suppose you want to store the response provided by this LLM into a slot, which you can use it in a later stage in another flow. For example, you can do that from here. So suppose if I say quick reply, and if my evaluation type is expression, what you have to do is give this as dollar data. So what this will do is, uh, if the user has asked one question, and what this will do is, the response from that question asked would be stored in this slot, and you can use this slot at a later stage in another flow or in the same flow in later components. uh, this section is for fine tuning your LLM bot. So so there are basically, I think, nine fields for this. The first one is temperature. I mean, how the bot should respond. So you basically control the randomness of the responses from your chatbot, from your LLM. Sorry. So this is basically between, I think, 0 and 1. Max token is how much token should the response take. So by default it is 300. So for example, if I show you over here, this sentence has 12 tokens, right? So the response provided by this prompt action would not exceed this number. So this way is fairly useful when you want to control your you spending GPT usage. So it is helpful over there. Model is basically what type of model you want to use. So by default, we use GPT 3.5 Turbo. Suppose if you want a higher model, for example GPT-4, you can also use that. Uh, Top P is what this does is controls the diversity of the output. So if you provide one, for example, which is the higher top P, uh, this leads to more diverse outputs, which is basically means you can create the text would be more creative and surprising, but could also potentially lead to nonsensical content provided by the algorithm. So and closer to zero means the model basically focuses most on the most likely words which would come as a response. So this results in more predictable content, but would basically lack potential creativity. As for N, this is how many different response options are generated by the model. The stream is if you want the reply to be instant or you want it in a stream of text. So if you want the response to be in single as a single response, you just keep it disabled. Else you want it as a stream of text, you keep this enabled. Uh, as for presence penalty, this basically penalizes the model for generating words that are not present in context or input prompt. So this is helpful in if you don't want the model to generate words which are not present in the content we have provided on the prompt management page. And as for frequency penalty, this basically penalizes the model for generating words that have already been generated uh, in the current response. Uh, Logic bias actually takes a JSON, which this hyperparameter, I think, lets you prevent the model from generating specific tokens or encourage the model to generate a specific token based on your needs. So I'll just show you what the So this is the prompt action. So by default, these fields are already present. But suppose if you want to add a new context, what you do is type your context. For us, it would be similarity context because we are actually taking content from the content provided by us on the prompt management page. So you type your context and you just add over here. In this enable context, you can also disable and the context you don't require. So if you have multiple contexts, you can disable it. Some of them if you don't need it. Uh, as for there are two types of context. One is user. So the questions given by the user would be used over here, and the source section is from where the content would be taken to generate the response. So if you provide this as static, so the content used by the G LLM model would be from this only. So you can provide the content over here and the instructions on how to use that content. So for example, reason with the user, or, if the answer is more than 20 words, respond in bullet points. Uh, this was static. So you provide the content over here only. If the source is slot, I mean, you have a content stored in one slot. So what you do is select the slot over here in which you think the content is present, and then provide instructions on how to use the content in this. As for action, you can also use actions. So I mean, suppose for example, if I'm using an API action, I'm getting data as in the API format. I have an API which provides me data. So what I can do is create one API action, and which would provide data to this prompt action. So you just select that action over here, and also provide instructions on how to use this data provided by it. As for history takes this is what this does is the context, the source of the content would be from the last five bot responses provided by the digital assistant. So this would take the last five bot responses and then try to respond accordingly. Uh, the last which we are actually interested in. So this is the bot content. So this bot content would be this source would take data from where we had stored the prompt management in the prompt management page under the table. This would take the content from that. So you provide one instructions on how to use it, and uh, it also has three. So top results means when the model search for the query of the user in the content, uh, how many results you want to consider before sending the response back to the user. Similarity threshold is whatever the so there's a this is a cosine similarity known as cosine similarity where the question asked between from the user and the content there is compared, and if this is above this threshold point set, only then it will be considered as for the response. And over here you specify from which table actually you want to take the content from. So in our case we have three tables defined. Default is actually empty, books I have already done, and Goodreads which I had actually created before. So this creating multiple tables is good because there is segregation of data. So for example, for one prompt action, I could use this books section. For another prompt action, I could use Goodreads table. Uh, think that covers all the things based on similarity. I'll just show you the flow which I had created for this book. So this is the story books, and I have an intent books in which I am asking for the I need to know information about the books. And in this prompt action, uh, I have a system context. You are an AI chatbot designed to assist users with book recommendations, reviews, and your purpose is to provide helpful information about the books, suggest reading list, and engage in friendly conversations. Feel free to enhance the user experience and promote a love for reading. As for similarity context, everything is default. This is from the user, so the query form would be based on the user question only. And the source from which the data would be pulled is the bot content from this table books. And as for the instructions on how to use, so determine if the answer to the query is present in the similarity context. Uh, if the answer is present, generate a response that includes the answer and keep the answer under 15 words. Be funny with your responses. You can play around with this. We'll play around. I'll just show you once. Prompt actions I've not done any. As for failure messages, if I've provided one link which redirects to the Goodreads website, and everything else. So dispatch response is on, so the bot would actually provide responses to this, and the user question would be set from the user. I have not saved this any slots, and hyperparameters are also default. So the next step after you have created a flow is to train your bot. So this is a basic, fairly easy process where you just click on this and click on proceed. So just train this once. Uh, so yeah, so the training is actually started. So you can see your training logs on this page, which is go to train and training history. Uh, this shows the remaining time. This is calculated based on the previous timings for training the chatbot. So actually, I have already trained, so I don't need to train this again. But I'll just show you. And so this digital assistant has already been trained. So suppose if I had to ask a question, uh, tell me about the book. So BBX is already over here. So if I search for it, BBX, yeah. So if I go to this conversations and in this flow, okay, right. So in this, if I say answer in also answer, the response should be in bullet points. And if I ask the same question about this book, okay, so see, this is giving it in bullet points. So the book title, the author, what is the genre, and the rating and the description. Uh, just 1 second. Right. So you can play around with this as well. So suppose if I say be sarcastic with your responses, for example, and click on update and just ask, tell me about the book babies. So the response changes accordingly to the prompt we have provided, the instructions we have provided. Uh, just 1 second. Huh. Huh. So suppose if I ask another question, like, okay, recommend me books which have rating above 4.5 or 4, I think. Things below 4, okay. So I don't think I have provided any books. Uh, so suggest me books that have rating above 3, for example. Just giving me answers sarcastically. Just 1 second. I provide a list, provide the responses and list. So here it provides me a list of books which has a rating above 4 points. Sorry, 3. So if I ask for a genre, suggest me some fiction, non-fiction books. So it provides me a list of the things which are non-fiction. So actually, I had added 5 non-fiction books. So I think it is providing me all 5 as well. So this is working as expected. Uh, let's move to configure client where we improve the look and feel of the UI. So I think the training is almost, yeah, it's complete. So in order to configure your client, you go to the deploy section and in this there is one configure client page. Uh, so you can think of it as three parts. In the first half, there is the subtabs for the configure client. We actually divided all the important features based on their requirements. So on the right hand side, you can see our chatbot, uh, and on the center section there is one form based on the subtype of the configuration of the client. Over here, you can see the generate section where the script is generated for our client, which actually is required to when you're deploying the chatbot on your website. I'll just cover this later on. I'll just go over this. So name is your the name of the chatbot. So we're actually trying to make a chatbot for this website, Goodreads. So I'll just rename this as Goodreads. So as you can see over here, it changes according. Uh, Collapse view icon button is this part. So if you want it as an icon button, hexagonal button, or flat icon, square icon, you can configure that as well. But for now, we'll just stick to icon buttons. Uh, this is the welcome message for the chatbot, which is shown over here. So you can also customize this as well. So, hello, welcome to Goodreads, for example. I have sent. This part is what is the type of bot, which is also shown over here. So what you can do is this is a digital assistant, book assistant, I will say. Uh, this is the type of user which would get. So these are two types. One is random, one is custom. So random would generate when you when you chat with the user and go to the chat history page, which basically shows all the user which have previously chatted with the digital assistant. There, the user type would be randomly generated by us. Uh, as for domain whitelisting, you can actually whitelist your domains on specifically on which domain you want to show your this assistant. So by default, it is actually star, which represents it is deployable on all the websites provided on the internet. So for example, if I only want this to be deployed on Goodreads.com, what I'll do is I'll copy this URL and paste this URL over here. Remove these query parameters, and you just need this www. No need for HTTPS. Just one second. Some issues there. Just, we'll leave this for now. Just change. And just one second. Hmm. Uh, so in Essentials, there is one more section known as more config. This is the host URL. So uh, because we are hosting the chat server, this is the default by default URL provided by us. So if you uh, have your chatbot hosted somewhere else, you can provide that URL as well. The default tab name is suppose you, Currently we don't have any tabs, right? So if you have multiple tabs, so the default tab name can be set from over here. And these are the options. So for example, this is make child client button draggable. So if you want the chat button to be not sticky and can drag and drop wherever you want, you can enable this icon. Uh, I'll just show you an example of this. So suppose you haven't deployed and you just want to check how the chat client looks on your website. You can use this test chat widget from the step. Just click on this copy, and suppose I have this. You have to press F12. Uh, in this, go to console and just paste this. So it is not letting me paste. So I have to press allow pasting and then enter. Now I can paste over. So what does this is you can see over here for testing purpose you can deploy the chatbot directly on the console of the website. And suppose for example if I make this chat line button draggable and if I paste this again, so I can just drag this wherever I want. Uh, as for show close icon, uh, so we have two types of client currently. Would recommend to use the new client UI as it is better. So this was actually the old. So the show close icon actually works on this. So suppose if you want to show your user the close button, if you keep this as disabled, you can just press on the header and this will close the chat bar. One more is this iframe client. So if you want to render our chat client in iframe, you can enable this part. Uh, so for example, if I do this, so this opens in another tab with our client. Uh, yes, so recommended if you have this enabled on your client configuration. So and another is this enable expandable client. Suppose if you want the client to be expandable, so this just adds a button over here, which lets you expand and minimize your chat. This is another default expanded client. Uh, so by default, when you open, it would open as an expandable. I'm actually disabling this. This is another feature which we have, which is enable voice to text. Uh, Currently, it is only supported on Chrome. And it doesn't actually work on some other browsers. This is basically an experimental feature. Uh, Another is this use shadow DOM. So actually, what happens is when you deploy your chat line to suppose your own website, the CSS of that website overrides our CSS of our chat line. So if you enable this shadow DOM, that won't happen. So this section is also recommended if you don't want the styling of your HTML to affect your chat line. Uh, I'll just press save. So this is the essentials part of the configure language. The second section is a theme where you can specify the color of how the chatbot should look. So, for example, if you can select over here, this you can specify the size of the chatbot. The third one is recommended to create. So if you're trying to make something like this, okay, so this is, so if you want the color to be different, you can try that as well. I'll just keep this as default for now. If you want to change the color of the header, you can do that as well. Uh, to change the color of the chat box. This is the size, and so here you can specify the height and width of your chat line. So if I increase this, this would increase the width of the chat line. And this is the state when the height and width when your chat line is expanded over here. And you can also change the header. I think this works on old line. This is only for old line, not the new. Uh, Another feature which we have is custom CSS classes, where uh, suppose if you want you have a certain CSS which you have on your website which you want to apply on our chat line, you can also do that as well. So I'll just show you an example. For example, on the open button, if I say open btn cls and press save, so what I had done is actually downloaded one sample template which has a website. So if I try to deploy it on my local host, I'll just show you once. This is the website which I'm talking about. This is currently running on my local host. So if I want to deploy my client over here, what I can do is click on generate and the script and copy this one, copy this script and paste it in the. This is the index HTML, which is basically the main file of the project of the website. So what you do is in the head section you can paste the script tag over here. And as you can see, the chatbot uh, is getting deployed over here. Okay. So for example, if I wanted to give specific CSS to this, press on in, so the open BTN CLSS class, as you can see over here, is actually getting applied over here. So if I go to the CSS part of this and just search animate CSS. Downside. If I just copy this one. And this was the class, open BTN CSS. So if I wanted to give animation to this chat, this icon inside the chat, so what I did was create one custom class of my own, and using this custom class, give styling to this specific custom class, and inside that the div that has this CSS property button internal. So you can do this with the header container, chat container as well. So header would be this part. Container is actually this section, the whole section. Chat container is this part where the previous chats are shown over here. Uh, User messages are the chat which comes on the right hand side, and the bot messages are messages which come on the left hand side. I think this covers the part. As for assets, you can add images or set phone settings for the chatbot. So, for example, if I say enter CSS, so these are the phones actually provided by default, which are supported on by default in the browser. Uh, so if I say this as brush script empty, so as you can see, the font of the bot messages has been changed. You can also increase the size of the bot messages. Suppose if I say 24 pixel, this increases the size of the bot. But it is recommended you keep it at default. Similarly, you can also style the user message as well. If I change this to 14 and user message as 16 pixel, there. As you can see, the phone family of the user message has also been changed. Actually, don't like this phone family. I'll just keep it as default or something like Arial. As for bot icon, so the what we can do is this is a website which hosts GIFs, so you can also add GIFs in this. So if I search for books, hmm, I just have to right click this and copy image URL. Copy image link. So there are two ways to upload bot icons. One is file upload, in which only SVG formats are supported. Or suppose if you have your images stored somewhere as a link, you can also provide that. So if I save this and press save, then this changes the bot icon. Alright. Okay. So this actually does not look good. So what I'll do is um, just use this picker and Select this one. Select the hex value of this. Go to theme. As for open icon, I change this to hex value. BF8083. Hashtag BF8083. All right. And as for header, I'll change that as well. BF8083. I'll just make this a bit more light. Yeah, this looks good. For other, for a bot icon. Uh, you can also add dialogues in your page. So let me just give you a sample. Hey, hope you're having a good day. So uh, if I check this one, so it shows this dialogue. Hey, hope you're having a good day. Let me just test this once on the Goodreads website as well. So here it shows, hey, hope you're having a good day. For some reason, the color is not, oh, okay, did not save actually. BF8083 and press save. Start BF8083. Just lighten this one up a bit. Hmm. Press save. Okay, the configurations has now be saved. Let me just test this one. Yeah. So the dialog shows basically, hey, hope you're having a good day over here. So you can also customize that. What is the width of the dialog? This is in pixels. What is the dialog close time? So after 5 seconds, this would automatically close itself. What you can also do is based on specific routes also, you can invoke these dialogues. So for example, if I say dialogue invoked on author page, and if I say dialogue is as message, you have to provide routes over here. So if I say program, if I provide this route and try this again on this specific page, on this specific route, author slash route, then this. So as you can see, the dialog which you have created specifically for some route will get invoked like this. So when the user comes over here on this or slash author slash program, this specific dialog will get invoked, which you have configured. Uh, what you can do is also you can also add ribbons on your website. So ribbons are basically the should cover the your whole vertical space, and you can configure that where you want it. Suppose if you want it at the top or at the bottom. Uh, so if I say this is a ribbon, you can also add links over here. and provide this link. You can also specify the height of the ribbon. So if I say 40 pixel, this would take the height as 40 pixel. If I see this, so where do the placements of the ribbon should be? If you want to show it the top, you can do that also. Or for example, if I say bottom and open delay of how many seconds after that the ribbon would pop up. So if I just keep this as simple as possible, area. And you also have to add path over here. So previously what I had done was I'll just take this path only. So this ribbon would only show specifically on this path of the website which you have deployed. And you can also set the condition. So if it includes this path only, then it will show the dialog, the ribbon on the website. So if I press add, I have created one ribbon. If I just paste this over here, as you can see, there is one arrow coming, and after 2 seconds, this ribbon pops up. So this is the ribbon which I had configured actually over here. So you can also change the color of the background and the link which I had provided over here as author, which would redirect me to the author's page which I had provided in the link. You can also change the color of the link as well. So if I check the CSS of this, hmm, FFC0B0, no, 0B0, and just increase the darkness of this link. And text color should be white. Let's just check. Author slash program. Okay, my bad. I had to deploy on it because I have provided the route as slash author slash program. You see over here, the ribbon actually comes at the bottom with the colors which we had specified over here. Context management. So this is fairly, I mean, suppose if you have a platform which has, I mean, which wants the user to log in, and suppose if that login details are stored in local storage, of that platform, you can extract that storage key and set that key in this slot, which I can use at a later stage. At point. This is actually not. This is an advanced feature. It's actually not needed right. Uh, as for nudge, you can use. I mean, nudges to notify users. So suppose if they are inactive for some time, uh, you can use these nudges, which would open the chat line by itself and try to ask the users something. So, for example, if I type over here, "Hey, how are you doing?" and provide the nudge path as this as well, slash author slash program, for example, and this nudge activation time is actually in minutes, and try to add. So what will happen is on this path specifically, after 1 minute, the nudge would pop up and show over here. Uh, so I'll just delete this file. As for tabs, you can also have multiple tabs in your client. So if I say assist, help section, help me, and on some this is what happens is on submit intent, you actually provide an intent uh, to it. So whenever someone sends some message on that tab, this actually would this intent would trigger. So if you have a story flow already configured for that intent, that flow would start triggering on when the user sends a message. So if I for now I'll just keep it as greet. SVG is an option. You can also add images for the tabs as well. And enable suggestions are also optional. So when you create one tab, see for example here help me as well. So you can customize this based on your usage. So another section is this enable sessions and suggestion label. So if you click on enable suggestion and help me suggest something, for example, one button actually comes on the bottom right side of the chat line. Uh, so on click of this, this actually triggers the response from the bot. I think else I think everything is covered in this. So if I try to chat, suggest actually you can test it over there. So okay, suggest me some books with rating 3 and above, for example. think this is working as expected. Yeah, so that covers the basic LLM flow of the chatbot and the client configuration part of the system. Uh, just 1 second. There are any doubts? Isn't it too complex for product managers? No, I don't think it is complex, maybe, right? Because once you have an LLM configured in your chatbot, you just have to add content over there and create one basic flow like I had created and train for it. Don't think it is. IG needs to remove star. Okay, right. Just check that later. I think that covers both the part which we had tried to achieve. So yeah, that's it. I end the stream.